Hey guys, so I'm going to try to do my labor, oh, no, no, my labor and delivery story. He's 2 months old now, so better late than never, right? I'm going to try, see if he'll let me. Huh, you want to tell about your labor and delivery story? Huh, 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 huh. See if he'll let me. I also have a 3-year-old playing, and she's being content right now, and a psycho kitty in heat that's also somewhat content right now. So we will attempt this. So my due date, I'm gonna try to remember everything too.
Mommy, these are not me.
She gonna get you. She's just playing with the basket. So my due date was January 25th, and he decided to come on the 17th, January 17th. His face looks all wet because I put stuff on it. His cheeks were kind of red, and he's also got a little bit of cradle cap, so that's why he looks all oily. So he decided to come on January 17th, so exactly 39 weeks. All my other kids, all my other babies, I got induced, and I had the epidural. I at least had the epidural placed. A couple of them, it didn't work super good, but I had the epidural placed. I got induced. I had all the interventions, right? Well, with him, I wanted to not get induced, and I wanted to not have the epidural, because with my last two, I had a...
These are my baby, Emily.
She's got your baby, Emily. That silly kitty. What's the matter? What's the matter? Huh? Is you tired? Is you sleepy? Oh, the poor baby sleepy. She won't. All right, try to grab it again. This cat is like psycho. I'm scheduling her appointment to get fixed. Oh, you got it. She like chases them all the time. And is just she's just crazy. I'm gonna get her fixed. It's on my to-do list. Okay, gentle, gentle.
Wants ice cream.
No, he doesn't want ice cream. Here, he wants a binky. Do you know where his binky is? We'll see if it's in his bed.
I need to say, yeah.
See if it's in his bed. Anyways, so that's what my... Oh, yeah, so I had a really bad experience with my last epidural, so I wanted to... And I know if you get induced, your contractions are 10 times worse, and they're more intense and stuff, so I wanted to not get induced because I wanted to try to not have the epidural. My last one, the epidural, as soon as I got it, my heart rate dropped, or my blood pressure. Thank you. My blood pressure dropped dramatically, and it was super scary.
Why that's on the puppy? Why that's on the puppy?
I don't know. Uh-oh. There. Here you go. It was super scary having my blood pressure drop so dramatically. I will here in a second. And also after she came out, my I couldn't walk or pee for like 2 hours. Yeah. My legs wouldn't work, so I had to have help to get to the bathroom, and I kept trying to pee, but I just couldn't do it, and that really sucked. So, and then the one before that, my kid before that, the epidural, getting it. You found pizza? Getting the epidural was super painful. And again, my blood pressure dropped, and I actually passed out with him. which I just thought was like a fluke and it was just a bad thing. Sawyer, can you get down, please? No, she's not. Get down, please. So I thought it was just a fluke and a one-time just bad ordeal. So I got the epidural again with my following baby, and again just had a bad time of it. So I did not want to get induced, and I did not want to have the epidural with him. So I went into labor exactly 1 week before I was due. I had people over here doing stuff to my house. Like they were insulating the walls and insulating my basement. So I woke up around like 2 o'clock in the morning and to a contraction. It wasn't super painful. It was just uncomfortable. I thought it was Braxton Hicks. I had been having Braxton Hicks for weeks, so I just assumed that's what it was. I got up and I went to the restroom, and this is going to be TMI because I'm just going to tell all of the information. So if you don't want to hear it, then don't listen. But I went to the bathroom. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, right? And I had a bunch of bloody show, and there was a lot of it. So I was like, maybe something's going to happen today. Maybe not. Who knows? So I tried to go back to bed, but I just couldn't. I was kind of excited and nervous because I thought something might be happening. So I just I couldn't fall back asleep. So around like 4, I gave up on sleeping. I was still having contractions, by the way. They were like 20 minutes apart, and they weren't painful at all. So, around like 4, I just turned on my show, and I decided to eat something. I was really hungry. The kids got up. I got the kids up around like 6:15, and he's like sliding down into my lap. I got the kids up around like 6:15 to get them ready for school because it was a Friday. I didn't know if I was going into labor or not because, like, I knew it was a possibility. I was continuing to have bloody show and continuing to have contractions. But like I said, my contractions were not painful at all. They were about 20 minutes apart. So they were, like, on a schedule, kind of, sort of. I wasn't really timing them, but they were far apart. And they weren't painful. So I knew that it was a possibility. I didn't want to tell the kids and have them get super excited and then nothing happened. But my oldest wanted to go to the hospital with me to be there during the delivery. So I did let her know that it was a possibility. I was in early labor. She gets out of school around she gets out of school at 11. So I told her it was a possibility, but I wasn't 100% sure, and that I would keep her updated. So they all went to school. The guys came to do work on my house around like 7:30. That kind of sucked because my whole plan was to labor at home for as long as possible to kind of diminish the ability to get an epidural, right? And I wanted to be comfortable at home. I couldn't really do that because there was like 5 or 6 guys coming in and out of my house doing work on the house, right? So I couldn't just lay around and be comfy. I was not in pain. Like, the contractions were not painful at all. And they were still really far apart, which is good. But it was hard to be comfortable whenever I had strangers coming in and out of the house. And then around like 10 o'clock, they told me that they were going to spray some stuff in my basement. So I had to leave. So that sucked. I didn't know if I was in actual labor. I knew it was a possibility, but like I said, they weren't painful. At this point, they were probably like 12 minutes apart. So they were regular, but they weren't painful. So I kept telling myself I'm probably not. But just to be safe, I did grab my hospital bag and my kids' bags of extra clothes and the car seat. And I'm so thankful that I did. I live about 45 minutes away from the hospital. My mom, who was going to be watching my kids, lives about 30 minutes away from me, also 35 minutes away from my hospital. So I grabbed everything just in case. And I also had my daughter, which was 2 at the time. And we just got in the car and we drove around. We went to go run some errands. I messaged my 16-year-old and told her, hey, we have to leave because they're doing stuff to the house. And I was like, I'm still having contractions. They're getting closer together, but they're not painful and not close enough. I'm not going to the hospital yet. And so we went, ran some errands. Because there was so much going on, like, I just forgot to eat. I forgot to drink, right? I wasn't drinking anything. And I didn't know. It was like around 11. I told my oldest to just go to my mom's house whenever she got out of school. It was around 11 that the guys messaged me and said that I was able to come back home. I contemplated going back home, but I'm like, okay, I can drive all the way back home and then turn around and have to leave again in an hour to drive my daughter to my mom's and then drive to the hospital. I didn't really want to do that. So I just went to my mom's. I hung out there for a while. Contemplated on going to the hospital or going home, right? Because I'm like, am I in labor? You know, after having all these babies, I should know by now. But the contractions just were not painful at all. At this point, they were about 6 minutes apart, but they still weren't painful at all. And so I was like, do I really want to drive all the way up to the hospital just for them to be like, oh, it's just false labor and send me home? No, I did not want to do that. And then I'd have to drive back to my mom's, drive all the way back home. Like, I didn't want to do that. But I was like, do I really want to drive all the way home and then have to drive my daughter back to my mom's and then drive back to the hospital? No, I didn't want to do that either. It was just back and forth on what to do, right? So I was like, we're already at my mom's. I'll just have my other kids come here after school. I'll leave my 2-year-old here. I'll drive to the hospital, see if it's actual labor. If it's not, whatever, right? So that's what I did. I drove to the hospital. I called the school, told them to have my kids go ride the bus to my mom's. Drove to the hospital. I should have went and ate before going to the hospital, but I didn't. I really thought this was not, I just stabbed him in the eye with a binky. I really thought it was not the real deal, right? So I was like, I'll just go to the hospital. They'll tell me I'm not in labor, and then I'll go get some food, and then I'll go pick up my kid and go home. So I went to the hospital. At my previous appointment before this, a week before, no, like my appointment was Tuesday, and I went to labor Friday. So that Tuesday, I was at 1 centimeter, I think. I think I was just at 1 centimeter. But so I went to the hospital. She checked me. She said I was at a 3. So she said for me to just like hang out there, walk around, bounce on the ball, stuff like that. And then she would check me again in an hour and see if I was progressing. And then that would tell us if it was like real labor. Also, I asked to drink some water because I hadn't drank any water since like 2 a.m. At this point, it was like, I want to say 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, possibly 2:30. There was just so much going on. Like, I hadn't even drank any water, so I was super dehydrated. They wanted to give me an IV, but my veins were super, super tiny from me not drinking water all day, so I wanted to drink some water first. So I drank some water, was walking the halls, and, my 16-year-old was with me. So she was walking the halls with me. And so I would walk for about 20 minutes, then I'd bounce on a ball for like 20 minutes. The bouncing, so whenever I was walking, I could tell my contractions were getting stronger. At this point, they still weren't painful, but they were getting stronger. And whenever I was bouncing, they felt like they weren't as strong. So I would just bounce for a little bit, and then I'd start walking again. Thank
Set
you.
it up like this. Set.
Cut.
With
Can you
the
make me a
scissors.
cheeseburger?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I will.
So I
Can you
mostly
serve
walked
with
and
me?
drank. What?
Can you serve with me?
Yes, I will.
No.
He's so cute. He's really restless. After about an hour, oh, I can't. My hands are full right now, baby. You do it. After about an hour, she came and checked me again, and I was at a 4. So she said that they were keeping me. They were gonna move me to a different room. That's like a croissant or something. They were gonna move me to a different room. I requested the tub room. So whenever I'm like sick or in pain or anything, I take a bath. Like I soak in the tub, right? And it helps me a lot. So I really, really wanted to have the tub room and to sit in the tub. You want to take a bath again? Okay, just a second. So yeah, they said yes, and I was able to get the tub room, which was awesome. They told by this time it was 4 o'clock. They said that my midwife was done in the office at 4:30. So the plan was for me to move rooms and hang out until 4:30, and then she was gonna come talk to me and like check me and stuff. And they said that she could also break my water if I wanted. So that's what I did. I moved to the tub room. I didn't get in the tub yet. I just hung out in the bed or still like walked around and stuff.
That's so nice.
Yeah. And until 4:30.
One so deep, one so you.
Awesome. And then my midwife came and she she wanted to check me and she offered to break my water. So we kind of like talked. I was still at a 4. So we kind of like talked back and forth on whether or not to break my water. I didn't really want to because I knew that it would make my contractions so much more intense, and I kind of wanted to just write it out and let the labor do its own thing, right? She said that it would speed things up, and she kind of talked me into it, which I was fine with. It is what it is. It was very painful getting my water broken. I've had my water broken before, and I don't recall it being painful. This time it really sucked. It was pretty painful. And when she broke it, it kind of just came out as like a trickle. It was not a big gush. It did make the contractions more intense. At that point, I did like roll over and lean over the back of the bed and kind of do like a squat thing or on my knees. And they were doing counter pressure. It did make my contractions more intense. They still weren't bad though. They really weren't bad. But I did want to get in the tub before they were able to get bad. Yeah.
And these are the six.
Okay. Before they got bad. So they did run me the bath. The bath was amazing. Like as soon as I got into the tub, I could not even feel the contractions anymore. Like it completely took any discomfort away at all. This tub was massive. Like I was able to move and switch positions and roll around and squat and everything. It was massive. They dimmed the lights. They put these fake candles in there. They said I could play music. I tried it. It didn't really do anything. I didn't really like the music. It was really annoying me. So I shut it back off. But the tub was amazing. It took everything away. So I sat in the tub. Like I said, switching positions, moving around. I just had my bra on at that point. I did get the IV. I forgot that part. I did get the IV because I was worried about how dehydrated I was. And they said that if I did end up getting the epidural, they said I needed an IV regardless. But I didn't have to have it connected to anything. Just in case they had to give me medicine, they could do it through the IV and it would be quick, right? So getting the IV sucked because, like I said, I hadn't been drinking. I was dehydrated. My veins are usually massive. and like you can even kind of see them in the camera. I have really big fat veins. So I've always had a really easy time getting IVs. I was so dehydrated, you couldn't even really see my veins. They were so tiny. So I was dreading getting this IV, and it sucked. She had to poke me 2 different times. It blew through, the needle went through my vein and blew like my vein, whatever, however you say that, blew my vein, whatever. My whole arm was bruised. My whole hand was bruised. Then they switched to a different spot. They finally got it, but there was blood all over the freaking pad that they put down on my bed. It was excruciating. It freaking sucked. But anyways, I got in the tub. I did opt to get fluids through the IV because I didn't want to be dehydrated. But awesome. Nom 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 nom. Thank you so much.
I will make you a hamburger.
Okay. Okay, so I got in the tub around like 4:30, almost 5 o'clock. The contractions from there did get stronger and more intense. Oh, and closer together. They were like a minute apart, minute or 2 minutes apart. Thank you. Nom, 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 nom. As soon as she worked my water, the contractions were like 2 minutes apart. They were pretty intense, but they still didn't really hurt. I mean, they were more intense, closer together. These are peas. Nom, 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 nom. Thank you.
Those?
No, they're so yummy.
No, they're those.
No, they're so yummy. Okay, fine, they're gross. But they still weren't super painful. I chilled in the tub. She did check me. I don't remember what time it was, and I was at a 5. And then she checked me again, and I was at a 7. Things were going really quickly. I was getting hydrated. I was having to get out to pee every like 20 minutes. Good thing about being right there in the tub, I just stepped out, peed, got back in. Things were going really quick. Then I could feel him getting super low, and his heart, when they were checking his heart rate with the monitor, probably every 30 minutes, they would listen to his heart rate, and then they would also continue to listen to his heart rate through a contraction and for a little bit after the contraction, just to see how. Thank you. That's amazing.
Really, Mommy?
It looks so yummy. Nom 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 nom. Thank you. That's the best sandwich ever. And his heart rate was good. He was handling the contractions good. I'm trying to remember all the little details. So it was about 6 o'clock or 6:30. She checked me, and I was at a 9. I remember because she said that she gets off at 6:30. Nom 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 nom. Thank you. Nom nom.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I remember because my midwife made a comment that she usually gets off at 6:30. But because I was at a 9, she was like, I'm just going to stay. Usually the on-call doctor would take over. And I kind of started to panic. I did not know the on-call doctor at all. I knew my midwife, and I really wanted her to be there. And she said that because I was at a 9, she was just going to stay. It was probably going to be soon. It was not soon. I hit like a 9.5, and I stopped. Like, I was still contracting every minute. My contractions at this point were super uncomfortable. They were really painful. The pressure was intense. Like, I could feel him way down there.
A big one to you, and the other one to me.
Oh, it's wet. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
The contractions were super intense. The pressure was unreal. But I wasn't getting to a 10. I wasn't feeling the urge to push. I had to pee like every 10 minutes at this point because he was so low. And I was still on the IV fluids. Nom 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 nom. Thank you so much. That was a yummy banana.
Thank you so much. That was a lovely food.
He was so low in the pressure and the contractions. Like I was having to pee like every 5 to 10 minutes. And thank you. Nom 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 nom. I was flipping around positions. Oh, open. Nom nom nom. Thank you.
Open. Nom.
I was flipping around positions, doing all the different things to try to get this little lip of cervix to go away, right? My midwife offered to like stretch me to 10. Nom, 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 nom. But when she would check me, like check my cervix, it was so freaking painful, right? So painful that I would not be able to stop myself and I would push her hand away. I did not want her to try to stretch me to a 10. I did not. At all. Like, I just was like, no, we're not doing that. Like, at this point, it was like 8:30 at night. Or probably more like 8 o'clock. Like, I knew she wanted to go. She said she was off at 6:30, but she stayed because I was at a 9. So we never thought that it would take 2 more hours of me being in labor. So I know she wanted to go. But it was just so painful I did not want her to stretch me. And I'm so thankful that she stayed and that she stayed past her off time and she was still able to deliver my baby. I'm so glad because I did not know the on-call doctor. I really wanted her, and I'm so thankful that she stayed and she delivered him. We never thought it would take that long, right? But I just kept saying no. I did not want her to stretch me. I got out of the tub. I walked around, which was awful. It was so painful. When I got out of the tub, my contractions in the tub were probably like a 7 on a pain scale. When I got out of the tub, they were like a 14. You know, they were insane. And they were like back to back, not stopping. Nom 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 nom. Thank you so much. Oh, and a chicken leg? Girl, you're spoiling me. They were intense out of the tub, but I got out. I walked, I squatted, which was super painful. I leaned over the side of the bed. I got on the bed. I got on all fours. I squatted. I tried everything to get that little lip of cervix to go away, but it just wouldn't. And I did not feel the urge to push. Around 8:15, she asked if I wanted to just try to do little pushes and see if that would get rid of it.
You set the fish in the water.
I caught a fish. No, he's trying to go to sleep.
Or this. And throw it in the water.
And throw it in the water.
Yeah.
So around like 8:15, I just started to push, right? And that's what did it. Like the first couple times I pushed, wasn't feeling the urge to push, but I pushed anyways, right? Then that lip of cervix disappeared and I felt intense urge to push, right? So I was pushing as hard as I freaking could. At this point, I was exhausted. I hadn't ate all day. I should have stopped and got food before going in. Good job. I should have stopped and got food before going in, but I didn't. I hadn't ate all day. I had nothing I was drinking water, but yeah, I was just exhausted by this point. I was pushing as hard as I could, but it just wasn't hard enough. It wasn't good enough, I guess. I don't know. But I pushed and pushed and pushed, and oh my God, he just would not come out. And the second that I would stop pushing, I would feel him go back in. And it was so Like, it was painful, and it made me push. Like, they kept telling me, you're in between contractions. No.
Mommy, eat with you?
Yeah, just get down real quick. You can sit on me here in a second. Get down real quick. They would tell me, you're in between contractions. Don't push, don't push. But I couldn't not push. Like, I could feel him going back in, and it hurt to not push. So a couple of times I couldn't, and I just kept pushing. But then the contractions would kick in, and I would continue to push, and I just pushed, and it freaking was so it honestly wasn't as painful. Like, the contractions at 9.5 centimeters versus the contractions while pushing, and the pushing and him coming out was not as painful as the contractions at 9 centimeters. Like, whenever I would push, it would alleviate some of that pain, right? Thank you.
This is so bold.
Oh, okay. So my contractions up until I was 9 centimeters weren't even that bad, in my opinion. They were intense, but they really weren't that bad. Once I hit 9 centimeters, that's when they were really painful. Yeah, he's trying to go to sleep. But once I started pushing, they weren't as bad. It helped to push through them. The pushing and him coming out was not as painful as the 9 centimeters dilated contractions were, if you understand what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say. So when they would tell me not to push, that's when it would hurt. But whenever I would push, it wasn't as painful. And I pushed for 20 minutes. It felt like forever. But I pushed for 20 minutes. And it was like, as soon as I would stop pushing. Sorry, this cat is just insane. She needs to get fixed. She's a psycho. But she's like, let me out of this house. I want to go get knocked up. I pushed for 20 minutes. It's like whenever I'd stop pushing, he would go back in. But this one push that I did.
This is yellow.
Thank you. A tomato and a cucumber?
Yeah.
Awesome. Nom 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 nom.
Say it's hot.
It's hot. It's very spicy. Can I have something to drink?
Yeah.
Then just all of a sudden, I did one big push, and he just shot out. Thank you. Nom 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 nom.
Say it's hot.
This is hot too, ma'am. Can I have some water?
Yeah.
He just like shot out, and the midwife was like, holy crap. She told me to look down, but I couldn't. Oh, thank you. I just could not look down. Thank you. I was like in shock or something. For about 30 seconds, I just stared at the wall and didn't move. I was just like in shock.
This is hot.
Nom nom. This is hot too. Why you give me all this hot food? I wish I would have looked down. I so badly wish that I would have looked down when she told me to look down. This is hot. But I was like in shock or something. I was just like staring at the wall and I couldn't move. I don't know. Sorry, I can't ignore her. I just can't.
This is hot. So hot.
Oh no, do you need a drink? Here you go. Take a drink, hurry. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I wish I would have looked down, but I didn't. So the reason, once he came out, we knew like why I was stuck at 9.5 centimeters. Why I had to push so hard to get him to come out. So he had a short umbilical cord. And if you recall from my other videos, I did not have very many ultrasounds whenever I was pregnant with him. Because I was seeing a midwife, I had an ultrasound at...
Said this hot.
Nom, 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 nom. That's hot too. Why you give me so much hot food, you crazy girl? No, get down. Get down.
No,
I don't...
I
I know, but I'm making a video right now. and I don't want you in the video because you don't have a shirt on. I think I had an ultrasound like early on, like I want to say around like 10 weeks or something. But then I had an ultrasound at 20 weeks. It was an anatomy scan. They redid the anatomy scan around 32 weeks. And then I want to say that's all the ultrasounds that I had. I was told I had a big, fat umbilical cord and that was a good thing. But they didn't say anything about it being short. And his umbilical cord was very short, and it was also wrapped around his ankle twice, and then he was holding onto it with his hand. It was stuck in like his fist, right? So he was stuck in this like fetal position ball, and that's why it took so long for him to move down and for me to push him out, because he was stuck in that ball. We were so lucky because he was not being monitored all the time. They were checking his heart rate like every half an hour. His heart rate was always fine. We got so lucky that his oxygen and blood was not cut off because his cord was wrapped twice and he was squeezing it. Like he was squeezing it really tight. We do not know how it did not cut off his oxygen. She said it was a miracle that it didn't cut off his oxygen, and that whenever I pushed him out, it didn't rip my placenta from my uterine wall. We got very lucky. And I barely tore. The fact that he came out in a ball and I only tore a tiny bit, we were lucky all around, right? I did tear a little bit, so she had to stitch me up. She said that she wasn't even going to give me a shot to numb it because that would just be another poke. She's like, I'd rather just poke you a couple times to stitch you than have to poke you again, which I thought was insane. But she's like, after what you just went through, this is going to feel like nothing. And honestly, it felt like nothing. I felt it, but it was nothing compared to, honestly, the 9 centimeters dilated contractions. It was like nothing. So it was no big deal. She said that I did have some bleeding, so she wanted to give me a bag of Pitocin to get the bleeding to stop. Having that Pitocin afterwards, those cramps were 1,000 times worse than the contractions. 1,000 times worse than the 9.5 centimeters contractions. 1,000 times worse than pushing the baby out that was stuck in a ball and couldn't like straighten his body. Worse than getting stitched. Worse than anything. And I had to have a whole bag of Pitocin. It took probably 2-3 hours or something to get that whole bag into me. Even with, they were just giving me Tylenol and ibuprofen. Didn't even touch it. It was awful. I had a heating pack on my stomach. Didn't help. Those Pitocin cramps were horrible. Horrible. I wanted to cry. Once that bag was gone, though, the cramps weren't that bad. And the ibuprofen helped the cramps. The heating pack helped the cramps. They weren't that bad. It was just that Pitocin. Oh my gosh, it was awful. I guarantee I wouldn't have been able to go through labor if I had had Pitocin. I would have requested the epidural because the Pitocin is terrible. But, so I had some bleeding. They gave me the Pitocin. He was on my stomach. Oh yeah, you got boo-boo on your finger. Aww. You got Band-Aid. Aww. They put him on my stomach right away. Wiped him down. He wanted to nurse like right away. Like as soon as he came out, he was trying to find the boob. So I did nurse him. He took maybe 2 minutes to figure out the nursing thing, latched on pretty quickly, and nursed. I did skin to skin and nursed him for about 2 hours, and then he was done nursing and was sleeping. So I pushed the call button. They came in, they weighed him and measured him, and
my sanitizer.
okay,
It's very dangerous.
okay. They weighed him and measured him and did the eye goop, the vitamin K shot, and the Hep B shot, I believe it was. Watching your little tiny baby that just came out of you have to get shots into their poor little body that is so brand new. It's heartbreaking. Like, it's tough watching them put these needles and put who knows what into their fresh new little bodies. That was tough. But he weighed 6 pounds 9 ounces, and he was 19 and a half inches long, I believe, which is hilarious because that's the same exact weight and size of my first child that was 16 and holding his hand while he was having all this done. So that was pretty cool. I was exhausted and starving and in pain from the Pitocin cramps. They had to move me to a different room, a postpartum room or whatever it's called. So I wanted to take the wheel. They asked that I could walk or get pushed in a wheelchair. Because of the Pitocin cramps, I did not think I could walk. I was in so much pain from those damn cramps. So I opted for the wheelchair. They said I could not hold him in the wheelchair. He had to be in his bed and get pushed. Which sucked. But better safe than sorry. I get it, you know. So we switched rooms. Then I made his dad go and get me food because I was starving. At this point, it was like 10:30 at night. But fast food places are still open at 10:30 at night. So he went and got me food. I gorged myself on food. And then
this is hot.
This is hot. It's too spicy. I need a drink.
Okay.
It was like probably midnight. By the time I got my food, got ate, finally the Pitocin bag was done. My cramps were not as bad at this point, but he pretty much wanted to nurse like all the time. And obviously in the hospital they want him sleeping in those little hospital beds, and those are super uncomfortable. I'm gonna try to speed this up because it's already at 42 minutes. Thank you. I don't sleep in the hospital, like, at all. Like, they want to... No, get down. Thank you. Get down. I don't sleep in the hospital at all because they want them... Hey, I'm trying to do something real quick. Can you go play, please? And I'll play with you here in a second. I need to finish this. They want them to sleep in those hard beds. I can't. My babies don't sleep in those beds. I see videos of other people's babies sleeping in those beds. My babies don't. So, I just don't sleep. I had been up since 2 o'clock in the morning. I was exhausted. My eyeballs hurt. And my eyes were watering. Because I was so freaking tired. He would not sleep in those beds. Who would? They came in like every 20 to 30 minutes to check my freaking vitals and push on my stomach. Check his vitals. Because they couldn't check them both my vitals and his at the same time. They had to do it separately, right? So it was like every 30 minutes they were coming in for something. And I'm like, I've been up for 24 hours. I'm tired. Can you guys please just stay out of my room and let me sleep? And so they finally agreed that they would for a few hours. And then, but he would not sleep in that bed. I did doze off a little bit with him on me, but my daughter and his dad were awake, so they were watching. So I got a couple of hours of sleep that way. Then he woke up. I fed him again, and then they held him, and I slept for a little bit longer. But I got maybe...
Mommy,
what?
Mommy,
They said that that's not Stormy, that's Ash.
Me.
She's not gonna get you. You're okay.
Thank
Um,
you.
so I had been up. I woke up at 2 a.m. Right. I went to the hospital that day. I had him at 8:35 p.m. They said that I had to be in the hospital for 24 hours after he was born. So that put it at 8:35 p.m. the following day. And they had to run tests and stuff too. And I had to wait for the test to come back before I could leave. So I left at 10:30 p.m. that night, which they're like, that's insane. You should just stay. You should just stay. It's really late. I did not want to stay. I wanted to get back home in my own bed. I wanted to be with my kids. I could not sleep in the hospital. The entire time that I was there, I slept for like 3 hours. And it wasn't even at 3 straight hours. I wanted to go home. I missed my kids. It was nuts to pick my kids up from my mom's house at 11 p.m. at night. But they wanted me. They wanted to come home. I wanted them. So that's what we did. I went to my mom's. I picked them up. It was like 11 o'clock at night by the time I got there. And then we drove home. We got home at probably like 11, almost midnight. Probably 11:35, 11:45, almost midnight. They were excited to see the baby, so I let them have their little, 10 minutes of see the baby, and then I sent them to bed. Miraculously, they went to sleep, back to sleep, because they were asleep whenever I got to my mom's, right? So miraculously, they went back to sleep. And then I nursed him, and we went to sleep. And it was an amazing night's sleep. He woke up probably every 2 hours, but it was so much better than at the hospital, right? And that was pretty much it. He's completely healthy. His kidney, they did an ultrasound on it at 4 weeks old, and they said it's okay. It is not getting bigger, it's getting smaller. So I think it's him growing and the kidney not growing. I don't know, but they're not too concerned. They're going to do another ultrasound at 6 months. But he's completely healthy. I've healed from it great. I can do another video on how postpartum went for like the first 6 weeks, because that was kind of sort of eventful. But the labor and delivery, he's my 8th kid, and 2 of mine are twins, right? So all of my labors and deliveries were induced. One of them, my water did break, but my contractions didn't start, so they talked me into giving me Pitocin. And I had epidurals. So he was the only one that I went into labor on my own and delivered him without medication. And he was by far my favorite out of all of them. Getting to get up and walk around and move and get in the tub and flip positions and do this and that. It was by far my favorite. My midwife was beyond amazing. She was great. My nurses were amazing. The whole experience was awesome. If I had to change anything, I obviously wish he wasn't curled up in a ball. And I think that the whole thing would have went a lot faster, and he would have been out at 6:30 if he hadn't been curled up in a ball. I wish I didn't have to switch rooms. Like, why do they do that? Why do they have you deliver in one room and then switch rooms? I really wish that hadn't happened. But otherwise, the nurses were amazing. My midwife was amazing. The whole experience was great. Another thing that I did not like was there was a lady that came to get him to take him for his hearing test. She told me that he had to lay there for 45 minutes to get the hearing test. I was like, I do not want him to lay there and cry for 45 minutes. Why can't I come with? Why can't I hold him and nurse him while you do the hearing test? Why do you have to take him? And she was like, oh, that's fine. Somebody's in there to comfort him. They usually sleep through it and all this and that. And I just did not want him to go. but she talked me into it, and he went, and I paced outside the door in the hallway, and he cried the entire time. It was so hard for me not to pound on the door and to just demand that she gives my baby back. He cried the whole time. I kept having to walk away because it was breaking my heart. I was pacing, I was going crazy. I, had to go into my room because out in the hallway I could still hear him crying. When she finally brought him back to me after almost an hour, she literally looked me in the face and said that he slept through the whole thing, that the only reason he got upset was because they decided to do, no, what was it? She said that he just got upset at the end. And I can't remember the reason why she gave me that he had got upset at the end. But she said he slept through the whole thing. He just got upset at the end for some reason. And I was like, no, I could hear him. He was screaming the entire time. She straight up lied to me. And I was so pissed off. She told me that if he was upset, she would come and get me. And I could comfort him. I should have just pounded on the door and said, give me my baby back. Why do they have to do that? Why is that hearing test so important that it's worth the baby just being crying for an hour straight? Why is that so important? Why can't we do the hearing test later at the first doctor's appointment if they are that upset and worked up? That made me mad. But otherwise, the whole thing, it was all right. It was my favorite labor and delivery out of all my kids. And I don't know. It was great. Other than that stupid lady that came and did a hearing test, I don't really have any complaints. I felt like it was amazing. The nurses were great. My midwife is great. And I'm going to end this here on that note because I'm already at almost 52 minutes. So yeah, maybe I'll do another video on my postpartum and how that went. And yeah. So, all right. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to try to lay him down and play with my now 3-year-old. She just turned 3 days ago. And she's playing with her new birthday toys. So, and then I'm going to try to get cleaned up and dressed. And we'll see if I'm able to do that. All right. Bye.